So, today we're diving straight into what really makes us tick when it comes to our goals. Like, are we driven mostly by trying not to mess up?
Or is it more an obsession, with getting ahead, with growing?
Exactly. And we're going to explore this using some frameworks from Higgins, Elliott, and Church, ideas that Jose Fernando Costa brought together really well in his essay.
The regulatory focus and approach avoidance stuff. Costa's synthesis is great for asking that core question.
Which is really, are your goals mainly about dodging the bad stuff, or are they about chasing achievement? And like, what does that mean for how you live and work?
It's fundamental, isn't it? Higgins gives us that big picture, are you in prevention mode? All about security, or promotion mode, focused on getting ahead.
And then Elliott and Church kind of zoom in on the specifics.
Right, what exactly are you moving towards? And maybe more importantly, what are you trying to get away from? Costa really helps connect those dots.
Okay, so let's unpack Higgins first. Regulatory focus theory. Costa explains it boils down to basically prevention versus promotion, with prevention focus. He talks about the neurochemistry, right? It's like cortisol is dominant, the amygdala is super sensitive.
Yeah, your brain's little alarm bell is always kind of primed. Stress is high.
So life feels more like damage control.
Yeah.
Your goals are shields, basically, against threats.
Exactly. Like someone keeping a job they don't even like just because losing it feels like a huge social failure, a demotion.
I can see that. Have you felt that pull towards just protecting what you have?
Oh, definitely. And Costa points out how our systems, like education or corporate structures, often reward that. Think about tenure or promotions based just on seniority.
Right, they value stability over risk sometimes.
Precisely. It can create this environment where avoiding mistakes becomes the main game, rather than, actively trying new things or growing. It's about holding onto your position.
What signals do you see around you? Is it more about playing it safe or pushing the boat out?
It varies, but the safe path is often reinforced, isn't it? Which contrasts sharply with the other side.
The promotion focus. Yeah, Costa describes that as totally different neurochemically. It's all about dopamine.
Right, the reward pathway is getting fired up when you hit a goal, which makes you want to do it again.
So your whole approach changes. Life isn't damage control. It's more like iterative prototyping, experimenting.
That's a good way to put it. Goals aren't shields anymore, they're scaffolding. Stepping stones to reinvent yourself, to reach higher.
So that same job title we mentioned, for this person, it's not a fortress.
No, it's a launch pad, a platform to do more, have more impact.
But Costa mentions a kind of societal weirdness here, doesn't he? Like, we say we value ambition.
But we can view someone really focused on promotion, really driven as maybe a workaholic. Or somehow unbalanced.
Yeah, like there's suspicion,
Yeah.
even though that drive is often behind major innovations.
We might miss the engine behind progress because we're slightly uncomfortable with that level of obsession, maybe. It makes you question our cultural takes on work styles.
Do you see that tension, how we perceive really high achievers?
Sometimes, yeah. There's admiration, but also sometimes a bit of judgment, maybe. It's complex.
Okay, let's pivot then. Elliott and Church, the approach avoidance theory. This adds another layer, right?
Yeah.
Focusing on avoiding loss versus actively going for something.
Exactly. It drills down into the direction of the motivation.
Costa uses this great case study, the mid-career person who
Yeah.
keeps turning down leadership roles.
Not because they can't do it.
No. It's because they want to avoid the spotlight, the scrutiny, the potential to fail publicly.
And Costa's description of their LinkedIn profile as a museum.
Wow. Yeah, just a static display of old stuff, nothing new being added. That image is powerful. Have you seen that kind of holding back people afraid of what they might lose?
Absolutely. That museum metaphor is spot on for capturing stagnation. And the key insight from Costa here is the paradox of avoidance.
How so?
Well, it seems smart to avoid bad outcomes, right? But that constant watchfulness, that vigilance, it eats up so much mental energy.
Energy that could be used for, well, actually doing things.
Yeah.
Growing.
Precisely. All that brain power spent worrying about what-ifs just slows you down. It's like driving with the brakes partially on. You wonder how much potential just evaporates because of that fear.
Can you think of times when, maybe for yourself, trying too hard to avoid a negative outcome actually limited you?
Oh, probably more often than I'd like to admit. It's a very human thing. But then you have the other side.
The approach motivation. Costa talks about an entrepreneur who sees bankruptcy as just data.
Yeah, not a catastrophe, but a pattern interrupt, as he calls it. A chance to learn, adapt, pivot.
There's a real resilience there. But Costa also flags a potential downside, doesn't he? Hedonic adaptation.
Ah, yes. The buzz wears off. You achieve something, feel great for a bit, but then it becomes the new normal.
And you need the next achievement to get that feeling back. The existential treadmill.
Exactly. Chasing goal after goal, but maybe not finding lasting satisfaction. Have you ever felt that? Where the thrill of accomplishment fades really quickly.
I think everyone experiences that to some degree. It makes you think about what you're really chasing.
Right. And Costa suggests maybe the focus shouldn't just be on what we achieve, but why. The underlying motivation matters more than just ticking boxes. Is it love of the process or just needing that next hit?
So being aware of that adaptation is important. Maybe finding joy in the process itself.
Yeah, building in other sources of satisfaction beyond just crossing the finish line. What kind of things help you stay grounded amidst achievements?
That's a good question. Maybe focusing on learning. Anyway, Costa then makes this distinction between being driven by fear versus being driven by obsession.
Two very different internal engines.
The fear-driven person, he says, is living with this constant low-level hum of anxiety. Amygdala on high alert, always worried about being found out or failing.
Neuroticism might be quite high, and success is just relief. Getting through the day without disaster.
It sounds exhausting.
It does. But contrast that with what Costa terms obsession. There's still anxiety, maybe, but it's different. It's anxiety about survival through creation, through improvement. Stopping feels like dying, metaphorically. Like the goal will just slip away if you pause.
But the key difference is the action itself feels good.
Yes. The dopamine release from doing the work, from moving forward, creates this positive feedback loop. It's self-sustaining momentum. It's a fascinating contrast in internal pressures.
Do either of those descriptions, fear or obsession, resonate with how you've felt when really motivated?
I think elements of both can appear at different times, depending on the context, but they feel very different internally.
And Costa points out this shapes perception too. If you're defensive, fear-driven, overcoming a challenge just brings relief.
Right. Phew, dodge that bullet. But it can create tunnel vision, right? Focusing so hard on avoiding the negative, you miss the positive opportunities.
Whereas the pursuit stance, the obsession with improvement, you see everything as data.
Pretty much. Failure isn't failure, it's information. Success isn't just relief, it's confirmation you're on the right track and info for the next step. It's much more about learning and iterating.
Think about a recent challenge. When you got through it, was it more phew or more, okay, what did I learn?
It's a good self-check, isn't it? What's the immediate emotional and cognitive response?
Now here's where Costa gets really nuanced. He says both approaches, defensive and pursuant, actually involve avoidance.
How does he frame that?
Well, the defensive person is obviously avoiding loss, losing status, losing achievements.
Okay, that makes sense. Running from losing something.
But the pursuant person, the one obsessed with improvement, Costa says they're also running from something.
From what?
From their current self, their imperfect self. They're constantly trying to escape the gap between who they are now and who they want to be.
Okay. So avoidance isn't just about external threats. It can be internal dissatisfaction driving you. Interesting.
And conversely, both also involve approach.
Right. The defensive person is actively approaching the continuation of their current state, trying to maintain it.
While the pursuant person is obviously approaching their vision, their ideal performance level.
Yeah.
Actively chasing that future self.
So it's not simply approach or avoidance. It's more complex. It makes you really question your own goals. What am I really running from, and what am I really running towards?
The answers might be layered.
Definitely.
Costa uses aiming for a title as a practical example. Getting the title, he says, that's just the start.
Right. The real question is what happens next. Is your main driver now not losing that title, which leads to caution, defensiveness?
Or do you see it as, okay, new level unlocked, now how do I perform even better from here?
Because the world doesn't stand still, does it? Costa reminds us, if you just try to hold steady, you actually fall behind. Stagnation is regression in a dynamic world.
That fear of losing what you gained can be paralyzing, while the drive to improve keeps you adapting. Have you felt that tension after hitting a big milestone? Protect versus push.
Oh, absolutely. It's a real balancing act sometimes, which links to another observation Costa makes.
About the phrase, I work hard so that...
Yeah. He suggests that phrasing often signals a defensive stance. The focus is all on the outcome, so that, often for validation or to avoid a negative consequence.
Like, I work hard so that I don't get fired, or so that people respect me.
Exactly. Whereas Costa argues, true pursuit, that obsession maybe, is more focused on the work itself. It's just, I work hard, period.
The outcome, the title, the success, it becomes almost a byproduct of the dedication to the process, to mastery.
Right. It's not the sole driver pulling you along out of fear or need for validation. It makes you think about your own goals. Are they framed around the endpoint, the so that, or the inherent value of the doing?
That's a subtle but really telling distinction.
It is. And ultimately, what Costa does, bringing Higgins and Elliot and Church together, is help us really ask that fundamental question: what's fueling us?
Is it mostly about avoiding the bad stuff, fear of failure, fear of loss?
Or is it more that intrinsic pull, that desire for progress, creation, pushing your own boundaries?
And as Costa points out, neither is inherently bad. Both motivations have their place, their uses.
But understanding which one is dominant for you in different situations, that's powerful. It allows for more conscious choice. Because both have potential pitfalls, right?
Definitely. Stagnation from too much prevention, or maybe burnout from relentless pursuit without reflection.
Finding that balance is key.
So perhaps the takeaway is to reflect on your own big goals. What's the deep why? Is it fundamentally a running from or a running towards?
And knowing that, thinking about our discussion today, are there any small shifts in perspective, any adjustments you could make for a path that feels more, well, fulfilling and sustainable?